Welcome to the Links and Locks Podcast, Action Network's golf betting podcast presented by Bet365. I'm your host, Andy Lack, and I will be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori. For these best bets episodes, Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the 3M Open. Before we dive into this week's episode, a reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boost with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for the biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Okay, Tony, we're on the first tee here for our 3M Open Best Bets. Get us started.
All right, I'm going to kick us off with Keegan Bradley this week at 40-1. So I want to buy low on Bradley following his missed cut at last week's Open Championship. Obviously, it was a very difficult test last week, but prior to that, he made the weekend in 8 consecutive tournaments, including a runner-up performance at the Charles Schwab Challenge and 18th place finish at the PGA Championship. He also profiles well for this course, given that his putter has been relatively hot recently. He has gained true strokes putting in 4 of his past 5 tournaments, which is important to note because 5 of the top 6 finishers here last year ranked 11th or higher among the field in strokes gained putting. That was the only statistic or metric in which such a dominating trend occurred. Not only has he been rolling the ball well, though, his approach game's been solid to get him in spots where he's able to make those putts. He ranks 53rd on tour this season in birdie or better percentage from 175 to 200 yards out. So I'm going to keep saying that yardage range a lot through today's show because 19.2% of approach shots at TPC Twin Cities come from that range of distance. And that's the largest distribution of any of the 25-yard range approach shots. So, I mean, if the approach game's there, getting him in good spots for good birdie looks, it's going to be a birdie fest this week. I think Bradley can thrive here, so that I'm going after him at 40-1.
Love that play. I'm going to grab another guy in the outright market at similar odds and go with Keith Mitchell, 33-1, enhanced win. Keith Mitchell has quietly developed into one of the best ball strikers on the entire PGA Tour this year. In this field, I have him right behind Tony Finau in terms of ball striking. The problem with Keith Mitchell has always been, can he make enough putts to win a golf tournament? And the jury is still certainly out on that one, but he has putted incredibly well at TPC Twin Cities. He's got back-to-back top 5 finishes here, both where he's gained over 3 strokes putting. So something about these greens at TPC Twin Cities just seem to fit Keith Mitchell's eye, and he's even a much better ball striker than he was when he played well here the past couple of years. So hopefully he can find some similar magic on the greens and parlay this great ball striking run into his second career PGA Tour victory.
All right, that's perfect. That's going to be our first overlap. I don't have him in the outright market, but I have Mitchell in the first round leader market at 50-1. Like you said, terrific track record at this venue, finishing 5th each of his past 2 appearances. And you said it perfectly where what's the question mark? It's the putting. And I just talked about Bradley, like how important putting is going to be this week. But also, like you said, I am less concerned about that because of his putting success here. Like you said, for some reason, he putts better here than he typically does at other venues. And if that part of the game is not going to be an issue for him, then he's absolutely live in any round. His inconsistency putting this year is the only reason I am going after him in the first round leader market than an outright play. But like you said, I like him in the outright market. I like him in the first round leader market because I think with that success here, it kind of nullifies those putting concerns. I mean, if those are nullified, then we know he can strike the ball well. So that I'm going after him in the first round leader market at 50-1.
I'm going to go take us back to the outright market and go with another outright here, a little bit farther down the odds board, and Andrew Novak, 80-1. Andrew Novak has quietly put together a really underrated season. He's got top 20 finishes at the John Deere Classic, the Rocket Mortgage, the Honda Classic, the Mexico Open, the Waste Management Phoenix Open. All of these golf courses are driver-heavy golf courses where you need to go out and play aggressively. You need to make a lot of birdies, and you need to spike either on approach or with your putter. That is the name of the game at TPC Twin Cities, you either need to get super hot with your irons, you need to keep the ball in play off the tee, but you need to get super hot with your irons, or catch fire on the greens, right? And so I'm primarily looking for players that can just tread water off the tee, stay out of the trouble. This is a golf course with a ton of water, but mainly, you can lose this tournament with your driver, but you can win this tournament with your irons or your putter. A lot of the guys that I'm targeting either have that spike ability in one of the two categories. I think Novak's one of the rare that has it in both, right? We've seen Novak finish top 20 on the strength of his approach play alone. We've seen him finish top 20 in some of these events on the strength of his putter alone. I think he's very close to being able to marry those in the same week. It's just been a really consistent go this year with him, where we've seen him have a lot of high end finishes, just never really putting it all together in the same week. I think that changes this week at the 3M Open. So I'm going with Andrew Novak 80-1.
Love it. I'm gonna keep us in the outright market as well. I'm gonna go after Erik Van Rooyen at 40-1. He's gained true strokes putting in 9 of his past 13 tournaments. So I really want to ride that hot putting that we've seen from him. He's made the weekend in 10 of those outings, 4 top 8 finishes over that stretch. So he keeps flirting with winning. And I think TPC Twin Cities is just a course that should set him up for success given his excellent short game. But like you said, there's multiple ways to get involved in the birdie fest here, right? So you can do it with your putter, but you can also do it with your irons. And that's why I love Van Rooyen this week, because he ranks 13th on tour this season in birdie or better percentage from the 175 to 200 yard approach range. That, like I said earlier, that's the highest distribution of approach shots at this venue. And he's a birdie machine from that range. So I think he's going to have a lot of looks at birdie. And since the putter's been hot, I think he's going to drain a lot of them. And again, it's going to be a birdie fest. And I think Van Rooyen can win in that type of setting.
Yeah, another tradition of you choosing my first round leader plays as outrights, and me choosing your outrights as first round leader plays. I have Erik Van Rooyen 45-1 in the first round leader market for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned. He's coming off back to back two really solid ball striking performances at the Genesis Scottish Open and the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Similar to Andrew Novak, he's had a lot of strong finishes on these driver heavy golf courses where you need to go out and be super aggressive out there. He has a runner up finish this year at the Cognizant Classic, which is a very similar golf course to TPC Twin Cities, in my opinion. Both golf courses feature a ton of water as their defining characteristic. And the name of the game at both of those golf courses is to avoid the water hazards at all costs and let your irons and putting do the talking. I think EVR can translate some of that success that he's had at some of the similar golf courses he's played this year. And he's just in great ball striking form at the moment as well. So I'm going with EVR 45-1 in the first round leader market.
I love it, obviously. So I'm gonna go back to the outright market another time as well. I'm gonna go after Patrick Rodgers at 50-1. So I just talked about how EVR is a birdie machine from the 175 200 yard approach range. Patrick Rodgers is even better, and he's actually one of the highest rated in this field. He ranks 9th on tour in birdie or better percentage from that range of distance. But then to add on to that, if he's giving himself good birdie looks on the greens, his putter should be able to take care of the rest because his putter's been on fire. He's gained true strokes on the greens in 4 consecutive tournaments. He's made the weekend in all 4 of those events. He finished 16th at the Travelers, 5th at last week's Barracuda. Obviously, a little different scoring, how they do the scoring over there, but that's still very promising. Come off a 5th place finish, and it's going to be a kind of a weaker field, not as weak as the Barracuda was, but still a weaker field that I think he can take advantage of. Lastly, he's made the weekend here in all 3 of his career appearances, and his putter's on fire. He should be in an approach range that he's comfortable with. So at 50-1, I like Patrick Rodgers to at least flirt. It'd be in the conversation on Sunday.
I'm going to give us one more outright here with Doug Ghim 85-1. This is another player that I think checks that box of having the elite spike approach ability to compete at this golf course. I just love the way that he's playing this year. He had a string of top 20 finishes to start the beginning of the year, cooled off a little bit in the middle part of the season, and now the ball striking is trending again in the right direction. He is one of the most accurate drivers of the ball in this field. He rates out highly in recent off the tee play, good drive percentage, performance off the tee on courses with a high miss fairway penalty and a lot of water. And I think his irons are completely up to snuff as well. He's one of the better long-term approach players and middle to long iron players in this field as well. I have a little bit more concerns about his putter than I do, say, an Andrew Novak, but I think he kind of fits into the same category as Keith Mitchell, where I think his ball striking can get him close enough to the top of the leaderboard that if we just get some putt luck, I think Doug Ghim at 85 to 1 can make some real noise this week.
Love it. I have one more outright as well, and this is gonna be a bit of a dart throw, but I'm gonna go after Justin Lauer at 175 to 1. So a huge number here, but the reason again, I think it's wider than it should be. So like Rodgers, Lauer's putter has been very strong recently. He's gained true strokes putting in 4 straight tournaments, made the weekend all 4 of those outings, and finished 25th at the Rocket Mortgage. He's never won on tour, which is why he's 175 to 1. But in a field where I think it's gonna be there's still some decent names up top, but it's a pretty wide open field once you get those past those names up top. I just think that number is too wide for someone who has flirted with winning multiple times this year, and his putter's been on fire. So that's gonna be my final outright play at 175 to 1, Justin Lauer.
Love that play. I've been on Lauer a bunch this year. He definitely has the putting upside to compete here. I'm going to go with another player in the top 10 market that I hope has the upside. He's been showing me a lot of things over a very limited sample size. I actually almost added him as an outright play here, but I didn't love the number for him to win this soon. But I'm going with Luke Clanton, top 10 plus 320. He has shown again over only a couple PGA Tour starts that he may be one of the best drivers of the ball on the PGA Tour. He's coming off a performance at the ISCO Championship where he gained over 6 strokes off the tee. He's got another runner-up finish at the John Deere Classic. I think there's a lot of similarities in both of those golf courses for what it's worth. I mean, I think TPC Twin Cities features a little bit more trouble off the tee, but both are TPC style architecture where you have to go out and be aggressive. Um, there's something cooking here from a ball striking perspective with Luke Clanton. I think there are a lot of younger guns on that we're going to get to see over these next couple of weeks on the PGA Tour, and Thor and Luke Clanton and Neil Shipley. And right now, from a ball striking perspective, and I understand that the odds reflect this as well, Clanton has absolutely showed me the most. And I have no reason to believe that he's not going to continue to play well this week on a golf course that I think can accentuate his elite ball striking skill. So Luke Clanton, top 10 plus 320.
I'm so glad you played him. He was the last guy to miss my card. I was debating as well, and we kind of saw when Matthew Wolff came in as a young guy in 2019
Yeah.
and won here. We could see Clanton do the same. That wouldn't shock me at all. I'm gonna go after a prop market here, and it's gonna be chalky, but I think the number is justifiable, and I'll explain why in a second. But Tony Finau is the top American at plus 850. So it's either you can look at Finau to win it at 11 to 1, or you can take him at 850, which is a close enough number, and you can eliminate a solid chunk of this field. So the only reason that the gap between those prices isn't as big as it normally would be in such a market is because all the favorites up top are all Americans, right? But you're still getting rid of a lot of solid names in this market, so the outright market, because Cam Davis won't be in it, Pendrith won't be in it, Griot won't be in it, Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, etc. You're still getting rid of a solid group of talent, and you're basically getting almost the same number as his outright play. And then obviously profile wise, there's reason Finau is the betting favorite. He won here in 2022. He's made the cut in all 5 of his career appearances here while finishing inside the top 28 all 5 times. For the tournament favorite, I would rather just take a shot on Finau in this market as a top American rather than 11 to 1, a price I don't really like. And what I think is really crazy about this plus 850 payout is that his top 5 market is plus 300. So I mean, if you're saying it's that likely as in the top 5, then I don't think it's out of the question at all that there's a couple non-Americans up there in front of him. So plus 850, Finau top American.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up. I'm targeting Finau this week as well in another market. I'm going with Tony Finau minus 140 over Sam Burns. And, for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned, I think this is a great golf course for Tony Finau. I'm not going to read too deeply whatsoever into the miscut at the Open Championship. He caught the wrong side of the weather draw. That Friday round got going poorly for him in the wrong direction over the first couple of holes. And it seemed like he just wanted to get out of Dodge. This is a golf course that he has had. I mean, he's a former champion here in 2022. He finished 7th here last year. He's got 3 top 10 finishes in 5 appearances. He's never finished outside of the top 30 in this golf course. I think we're going to get a very soft landing for Finau. And I know that Burns played a lot better than Finau at the Open Championship. I think he's gonna be more tired too. Like I actually think some of the players that were able to get out of there early are going to be at benefit. Burns was in contention to win that tournament midway through his Sunday round. I know he ejected in a very big way over the back nine, starting with that out of bounds tee ball on 11. But I think that's a pretty big ask to be contending to win your first major championship and then have to make the trip with jet lag and everything to get up for the next week. I really like the spot for Finau over Burns, both on, both just based on the fact of what happened at the Open last week, as well as their golf course fit. I think it's a much better golf course for Tony Finau. I trust his ball striking far more than Burns on this type of track. So Tony Finau minus 140 over Sam Burns.
I love that play. I'm gonna go to the top 20 market. I'm gonna go after Andrew Putnam at plus 425. So Putnam flirted with a top 20 finish at last week's Barracuda Championship, and at plus 425, I think it's worth just taking a shot on him to sneak into that range this week as well. TBC Twin Cities rewards a strong short game that you can score multiple ways here, but a strong short game is certainly one of those. And it kind of forgives your lack of distance off the tee as long as you're accurate. That to me is a perfect profile for Putnam because that's always his biggest drawback is he does not hit the ball very far. But there's going to be a course where you do not have to do so in order to succeed. And that's exactly what we saw last year. He finished 11th here or it wasn't last year, it was a couple years ago, but in his last time at this venue, Putnam finished 11th. So clearly that profile does exist for him. He's also gained true strokes putting in 12 of his past 19 tournaments, of which ShotLink data was available. He has 5 top 20 finishes over that stretch, so that already puts him inside the number that we're looking at this week at plus 425. And then finally, he ranks 54th on tour this season in birdie or better percentage from 175 to 200 yards out. So again, there's a course where distance off the tee, I'm not too concerned about that being his biggest drawback. That has been the case for him. So I like Putnam in the top 20 market.
I'm going to roll with one more top 20 as well and go with Austin Eckroat, top 20 plus 280. I mentioned PGA National earlier as a very valuable comp course in terms of it's accentuating a lot of the same things that TBC Twin Cities does. You have to keep the ball in play off the tee, spike with your irons. I think TBC Twin Cities far more resembles some of these Florida golf courses than a lot of the bentgrass birdie fests that we've seen over the summer because of the amount of water that there is on this golf course. Obviously, Austin Eckroat is the winner at the Honda Classic this year. And part of the reason why he played so well at the Honda, or the Cognizant, I should say, part of the reason why he played so well at PGA National, part of the reason why I expect him to play well here. He's a very accurate driver of the ball, and he can absolutely spike with his iron. So I think Austin Eckroat is a phenomenal course fit and another golf course that's really going to highlight a player's accuracy off the tee, let their irons and putting do the talking. Austin Eckroat, top 20 this week.
Love it. I'm gonna go back to the first round leader market and go after Tom Hoge at 50 to 1. So he ranks first on this field in strokes gained on the approach this season. Scheffler on tour. Scheffler's the only one that ranks him in that very key category this year, and obviously Scotty will not be there this week. So like we talked about Mitchell earlier, Hoagie's putting scared me away from his outright market a little bit, but I still think the ball strike is going to be more than enough to compensate for that. And I think he can get away if his approach game is dialed in like he usually is, and he has short putt looks. All he has to do is just get he has to get away with an average putting performance, and I think he'll be flirting with the low scores, at least on Thursday. He finished 20th here last year and 4th the year prior. So clearly, like I just said, he can get away with the average putting here because of how good his ball striking is. It's just you're gonna give me the best ball striker in this field at 50 to 1 in the first round leader market. I'm gonna take it.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to finish this up with a bet that I don't usually throw out too often here, but it is a plus 200 miscut bet, and that is on Billy Horschel. I talked about this reason a little bit with Sam Burns. I just think this is a major exhale moment for Billy Horschel. He had, the opportunity to win his first major championship, and now he's traveling back across the pond to a tournament that he committed to well before he contended at the Open. I commend him for being a man of his word and not dropping out even after he had a huge payday at the Open. But this just feels like a very natural letdown spot and a big ask for Billy Horschel to get up for this one after how draining that experience of contending at the Open must have been. Outside of that, I have concerns about his course fit too. I mean, he hit the ball great at the Open. His long-term ball striking form certainly leaves a lot to be desired. And if Billy's not hitting the ball well, if he's making some tired swings out there, he's going to be heavily penalized with the amount of water that we'll see at TPC Twin Cities. So I'm expecting a little bit of tiredness, a little bit of ball striking regression. So I'm going to roll with Billy Horschel plus 200 to miss the cut. And that will do it for our best bets episode for the 3M Open. Before we get out of here, a final reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. As a reminder, our action experts, Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish, return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for our 3M Open betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we'll see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast presented by Bet365.